This is PreCalculus 12, Chapter 3.4. This time we're going to be looking at the full transform of graphs. So we have scaling and translations. And when we're combining all the transformations, we want to plot the original function, apply the stretching, compressing for horizontal and vertical, apply the horizontal and vertical reflections, and then apply translations. If you're comfortable, you can combine these two steps together, so you can combine the reflection with the stretching and compression. Now, if you reverse the order, it will be incorrect. And why is this? It's because of bed mass. Okay, order is important. We can do all the transformations for each point, or that we can do each transformation on the function. So let's look at this example. We have f of x equal to x squared, and we have g of x equals 1/2, and in brackets, x minus 1. So this is our b, this is our h. So this is horizontal, and this is horizontal. And that's good enough to illustrate the point. So x prime equals x over b plus h. And because it's 1/2, this equals 2x. So we're stretching this. So we go from 0 to 0, we go from 1 to 2, -1 to -2, 2 to 4, -2 to -4. So that's all scaled. Next, we do the translation, and we're going right 1, so 0 to 1, 2 to 3, -2 to -1, 4 to 5, and -4 to -3. And this is the correct way to do the transformation. Now let's look at this. If we go from our original function and do the translation first, we go from 0 to 1. We go from 1 to 2, -1 to 0, -2 to -1, 2 to 3. Now we do the scaling. This point is at 1, it goes to 2, 0 stays at 0, -1 goes to -2, and 2 goes to 4, and 3 goes to 6. Notice that these two graphs are different, and this is the incorrect graph because it's done in the wrong order. So, this is the transformation. If we're going from pre-image to image, so the x to x prime, y to y prime, the formula is x prime equals x over b plus h, y prime equals ay plus k. Now if we're transforming from the image to the pre-image, this is going backwards. So we have to do some algebra. X prime, we move the h over to the other side, so it's minus h. So we have x over b. Now we multiply both sides by b. And that's our formula for x. And we start off with y prime. We move the k over to the other side, minus k equals ay. Divide both sides by a. And we get our formula for calculating y. And before we move on, I want to mention that there's another way to do this transformation. And we're going to substitute this into our f of x So we're going to come down here. So we have brackets. We always substitute with brackets. 1/2 x minus 1, bracket, all squared. We're substituting all of this in for x. So g of x equals, and then we take this factor out and square it. So that's 1/4, and we have x minus 1 squared. So if you notice here, our vertex is 1, 0, 1, 0. The vertex here is wrong. It's 2, 0. So you can do the transform on the function and then just plot this function. Let's look at this next example. So we have our A, our B, our H, and our K. So we have a vertical stretch of 3 and a vertical reflection. We have a horizontal stretch of 2, no horizontal reflection. We have right 3, and we have up 2. So we take these points. We can do both at once. So we're doing 0. That stays 0. And that's for x and y. Here we're taking the x and doubling it. And then we're flipping it vertically. And then we're stretching it by 3. So 1 becomes 3. So we have that here. And because it's symmetrical, we can just do the same thing on the other side. Here we have 2. That becomes 4. Flip it, and it's negative 4. Multiply by 3, that's negative 12. And we have this point here. And again, symmetry gives us the other point. Now we have to go right 3 and up 2. So we take this point, right 3, up 2, right 3, up 2. So that's 5, negative 1, 5, negative 1. Right 3, up 2, that's negative 1, negative 1. And we carry on. So here's a slight trick that you can use. Rather than shifting this whole thing, we can shift the origin of the graph the opposite direction. So this would be left 3 and down 2. So I've done that instead of moving the curve. So again, we can do the transformation on our x squared. So this is g of x equals negative 3. And we do big square brackets. And we substitute in this 1/2 x minus 3 bracket squared and plus 2. So we can factor this out and we get negative 3 over 4 x minus 3 squared and plus 2. So we look at this and our vertex is at 3, 2, 3, 2. And you can plot this using your plotting techniques from PreCalc 11. So this substitution works for parabolas, but if you're given an unfamiliar function, you need to be able to learn to do the transforms on key points or grid points. And remember scaling, reflection, and then translations. Let's look at the domain and range. The transformation applies to the domain and range. So the domain of G will be the domain of F divided by B plus H. And the range of G will be A times the range of F plus K. So it looks exactly like this formula. So our domain for f is -2 to 2, and our range is 0 to 4. So this becomes -2 divided by 1/2 plus 3 to 2 divided by 1/2 plus 3. So this is -1 to 7. So again, you just reciprocate this and multiply. -2 times 2 is -4, plus 3 is -1. And for g, we have -3 times 4 plus 2 to -3 to -3 times 0 plus 2. And that gives us -10 to 2. A small number of graphs, there's going to be no well-defined corresponding points to transform. So you can pick reasonable ones. And an example of this is exercise 3 on page 226. So the last and hardest thing is you need to be able to determine the transformation given the pre-image points and corresponding points on the image, and you need to determine this transformation algebraically. So you must do algebra. Inspection will only get half marks. Okay, so if you try to do it just by looking at the points, trying to figure it out, that's called inspection. You need to do the algebra, and this is how we do it. We break up the coordinate into its x and y components. So ax over b plus h. So we're looking at this, ax and ax prime. This gives us -13 equals -5 over b plus h. That gives us one equation. We have our other equation, bx prime equals bx over b plus h. And we substitute that, and we get -1 and -1. So -1 equals -1 over b plus h. So let's transform this one. It doesn't matter. They're equally hard. So we're going to transform this into h equals, and we're going to move this over to the other side. 5 over b minus 13. Now we're going to substitute this h into here. So we have -1 equals -1 over b plus 5 over b minus 13. Now we're going to solve for b. So -1 plus 5 is 4 over b. Bring the 13 over to the other side, it becomes positive 13. 13 minus 1 is 12. Now we can cross multiply. The b comes up to the top of this side. 12 goes on the bottom of the other side. And this reduces to 1/3. Now we substitute this back into here. So h equals 5 over 1/3 minus 13. 5 divided by 1/3 is 5 times 3 because we multiply by the reciprocal. That's 15 minus 13, and we get 2. So now we have B and H. Okay, now we have to do this all over again for Y. AY prime. Because we're breaking it up into components, this is called a subscript. So it should be written a little bit lower. And we have AY plus K. So this is not a big A times a Y. This is A subscript Y. And we have B subscript Y prime equals A B Y plus K. And substituting in the values, -6 and 17, we get 17 equals A times -6 plus K. Here we substitute our 6 and -7. So we have -7 equals A times 6 plus K. Again, it doesn't matter which one we use. I'm going to convert this one. K equals, this goes over to the other side. It becomes positive 6A plus 17. We substitute it into here. We have -7 equals 6A plus 6A plus 17. We solve for A, combine these two, we get 12A. This comes over to the other side, it becomes -17 minus 7, that's -24. Divide both sides by 12, and we get A equals -2. Substitute this back into here. We get K equals 6 times -2 plus 17. That gives us -12 plus 17. That equals 5. K equals 5. Box our answer. So we still have to answer the question, which is as a function. We need to express g of x as a function. So we know the coefficients. G of x equals -2 f of 1/3 x minus h, that's -2, and then plus k, that's 5. And again, we box our answer. Now, please be aware, in this equation, we divide by b. In our transformation function, we're not dividing by b. We're just multiplying by b. So don't take the reciprocal here. And as always, questions can be phrased as finding the transformation or finding what the constants are. And that completes this lesson.